Yeah, it's not a big deal, right? It's low-level stuff. Yeah, to a point, until you become mature, and you decide to grow up and not be a child anymore. Then it's detrimental when you do that. You can do it when you're young. That's what you can't do when you get older. You know what I mean? Because that steals a vast amount of your resource. Gets drained into that. Acting like a child. Being immature with it.
Well, as far as that goes with relationships, I wanted to talk about communication. Because most people do a lot of talking,
Right.
and there's no real communication involved with that.
Well, communication is not verbal. Talking is verbal. Conversation is verbal. Right? Arguments are verbal. But communication, it's not just talking. It's being to being. Right? Beings are energetic. Yeah? When you don't have any energy, there's a problem. When you're feeling really low, there's a problem. When you're feeling really good, there's not a problem. Right? And if you're constantly going back and forth, that's a huge problem. Even more so than just staying down there is a problem. You know, so you're bouncing back and forth. It becomes a problem. It has to be a balance. And there has to be a balancing act. You get what I'm saying?
I think so.
Well, keep going.
What's in the way of a real exchange between two people? You know, you were saying they have, sometimes it's just ideas bouncing off each other. Like, I have an idea of you and you have an idea of me, and they meet, but we never meet.
Right.
So
Make an agreement.
Why is there not more communication going on? Or is it going on on a different level that we don't?
Well, it's going on between certain people. You know, and to me, the qualities of those people are they're awake. They understand there is something more happening than what they see and what they think and what they know to be true. There's always something more happening. They're understanding there is a force behind all this, right? That is life itself, right? Those people know how to communicate. You know why? They are their being. They're not afraid of being connected to what made them, at all. They're not afraid of being at home with that. So therefore, the higher state, the higher consciousness, the fifth dimension, the 12th dimension, whatever anybody wants to call that. You know, it's a million names for something that you can't even really talk about. But here we are trying to talk about it, right? You know, that when a being understands that connection, he begins to emanate. That is his communication to the world, right? If you don't have that, you have speech. So you're saying very little, right? But the communication is a totally energetic exchange. The only time I think it's real is when both people understand it's happening. That there is this flow of life force going back and forth. It understands you beyond all my prejudice in my mind. Right? And then you back. That's communication. Right? None of this mental stuff gets in the way. Right? I mean, look at how many, it's like people have to jump through certain hoops to become your friend, and people have to, if they do a particular thing, they're not anymore. I mean, all this stuff is mental. The being has issues.
It's got conditions on it.
Right.
And you're talking about something unconditional.
Right. Communication is completely unconditional. It's basically saying, this is my natural being, unfettered, uncoded, and the ego basically dropped. Hi. Right? And in that open communication, right, I have no idea. I don't start going, well, he has a funny nose. Wow, he talks funny. Wow, he's kind of weird. None of this goes on. So where's my attention then? If I'm going to communicate something, first I have to be present. Nowhere else. Just present right here with you. Right? That's the only way communication can happen. It's never over the telephone. Never. You know, some guys can do that. You know, there's some of these guys that can send a jolt through a telephone. You're on the other end going, "Wow, yeah, that really blew me away." Yeah, I guess that does happen. I've seen it. I've seen people do that. But they're present, and wherever you are, totally present, all of your energy is there. Present. Where your presence gets bigger, right? Starts to get more intense, is because more of you is focusing in that spot. Right? That's where human beings communicate. Right? Because I'm saying a whole lot to you that I'm not saying. Right? Through the exchange of energy. Right? And that you are having it to process. I'm processing the same thing. That's you. Right? That's me. That overpowering, blissful feeling that pretty much makes everything just dandy. That is me, and that is you. That is where we're not different. Right? There's no difference that is highlighted there. So there is a pure exchange. It's not fettered by conditions, by opinions, by any of this stuff. It's clear. So I see you as what you are. And you see me as what I am. Right?
Not as that shirt and that hair and that means this about you and whatever else it is.
The mind can't know a thing. What do you do with your mind? You think. Well, if you're thinking, you can't know. Right? Because knowing is separate from thinking. Thinking is thinking. The minute thinking becomes knowing, it's not thinking anymore. Right? So all this thinking blocks someone from knowing. So when they go to meet somebody, they go to talk to them, and they're doing it totally from the mind, they're just thinking. They're not communicating. They're thinking. Right?
So that's what's in the way of the communication.
Yeah, that ego presentation. That thing we all carry around with us. That thing that spoils it all. It's really not us. I think it's really something else entirely. It just likes us to be in a certain way because it likes that kind of vibe. Yeah, it's very, everyone, I think it attacks everybody. There's this thing that, a perfect example of explaining what it is, because you really can't. Take anybody who has good intentions and wants out of a certain bad situation. That is their heart's desire. And yet it continues. Are they a mess, or is something influencing them? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's retarded, in a way. It's not right. How is it you could have a good intention, a good will, your will is strong towards it, and then have it come apart without something messing with it? And it's funny because everybody goes, well, I'm just I just mess everything up. And they get real down on themselves without seeing that they might have a monkey on their back whispering in their ear a bunch of bullshit without even checking to see if that's a possibility. They accept their own shame, if you will, and they slip into this state that monkey likes. And I think it attacks everybody, absolutely. Whenever you're finding yourself with, those thoughts, where the hell did that come from? That is gross. Where the hell did that come from? It's that monkey on your back.
But people assume that